The room was full of friends and family, all laughing and sipping champagne. Then my sister-in-law leaned over and whispered, "I know what you've been doing." I froze, then smiled because I knew the truth would shock them all. It was our 10th wedding anniversary. We had rented a beautiful hall, decorated with fairy lights that twinkled like tiny stars. Soft music filled the room. Friends and family milled about, sipping champagne, laughing, taking photos. Everything looked perfect, or so I thought. I was greeting guests, shaking hands, hugging relatives when I noticed her. Olivia, my sister-in-law. She never liked me. From the moment I married her brother, she had made it clear. Every compliment I received from others, she twisted it. Every success I achieved, she belittled it. And tonight, she seemed different. Her eyes were cold, calculating. She leaned toward my husband, whispering something I couldn't hear. I tried to ignore it, focusing on the guests, laughing with friends. But then it happened. She sidled up to me, her voice low and venomous. "I know what you've been doing," she said. I froze, smiled politely. "Excuse me?" "You know," she continued, "that affair you've been having." I blinked. The room suddenly felt too hot. Eyes flicked toward us. Some curious, some shocked. I realized she had said it loud enough for nearby guests to hear. My heart pounded, not with fear, with anger, because this was false, completely, and I wasn't about to let her ruin the night or my reputation without a response. I took a slow breath, placing my hand over my husband's arm. He looked confused. I nodded slightly at him, signaling to stay calm. Then I smiled at the gathered guests, the spotlight now unintentionally on us. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, raising my glass, "all good stories deserve proof." I reached into my clutch and pulled out my phone. She looked at me, puzzled. I tapped a few times, and then I showed everyone the screen. Photos, messages, calendar entries, all proving exactly what had happened, and more importantly, what hadn't. The room went silent because the truth was undeniable, and the one who tried to shame me was the one left exposed. The room went quiet. Every eye in the hall was on Olivia, then on me. I held my phone high, letting the messages and photos glow in the light. There it all was. Texts between my husband and me, carefully saved. Photos from our anniversary trip last year. Nothing untoward. Nothing secret. Everything that proved I was faithful, devoted, and completely innocent. Her face went pale. The anger that had burned in her eyes moments ago flickered, then faded. That's not," she stammered. But I didn't give her a chance. "No, that's exactly what it is," I said firmly. Every guest was silent, leaning in, watching the exchange like it was a performance. "You accused me of betrayal," I continued, my voice steady. "Of lying, of being unfaithful, in front of all these people." Her lips pressed into a thin line. I turned to my husband. He looked stunned, but relieved. I smiled at him. "It's okay," I said softly. Then I addressed the entire room. "This is what false accusations look like. And this," I waved my phone, "is the proof that truth always wins." Some of our friends laughed quietly. Others shook their heads in disbelief at Olivia's audacity. A few whispered to each other about how brazen she had been. And Olivia, she shrank under the weight of the evidence. She opened her mouth to say something, then closed it, because she couldn't argue with the facts. I set the phone down and raised my glass. "To truth," I said, "to honesty, to love that withstands lies and jealousy." The room erupted in applause. Even my husband clapped, his hand tight around mine. Olivia slunk away, defeated, leaving a trail of murmurs and sideways glances. And for the first time that evening, I felt light, free, vindicated. The whispers followed her out of the hall. The guests returned to their conversations, laughter, and dancing. But I stayed in the moment a little longer, watching my husband's eyes meet mine, feeling the warmth and love that no one could touch, not even false accusations. I realized then, with a quiet smile, that some people will always try to pull you down. But if you carry proof of your truth, you can rise above them in front of everyone. And that's exactly what I had done. No shame, no regret, only victory. Olivia didn't speak for the rest of the evening. She lingered near the corner, lips pressed tight, cheeks flushed. Her attempt to humiliate me had completely backfired. People who had been watching whispered among themselves, glancing between her and me. I could feel the shift in the room, from tension to astonishment, from judgment to support, from doubt to certainty. I looked at my husband. He was still holding my hand, a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips. "I can't believe she tried that," he whispered. "Neither can I replied, squeezing his hand. But there was more than just relief in the air. There was recognition. Everyone could see who I was, not just as his wife, but as a woman who refused to be shamed, manipulated, or bullied. I turned back to Olivia, who now had her arms crossed tightly, trying to compose herself. I could see the embarrassment, the frustration, the anger all rolled into one tight package. But I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. The truth had spoken for me. I let the silence do its work. Guests returned to their celebrations, but the energy had changed. People who had been unsure about me, family members, friends, even acquaintances, were now clearly on my side. I smiled, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. It wasn't just about proving I hadn't had an affair. It was about reclaiming my dignity, about showing that lies and jealousy cannot thrive when confronted with honesty. My husband leaned closer. "Thank you," he murmured. "For what?" I asked. "For handling it so gracefully," he said. I laughed softly. "Graceful?" I teased. Maybe I just made sure everyone knew the truth before she could twist it any further. He chuckled, shaking his head. "You were incredible," he said. "The rest of the night went on beautifully. We danced, we laughed, we toasted to 10 years of marriage and love that had survived ups and downs." Olivia stayed distant, no longer attempting to interfere. Her whispers and attempts at rumors were now meaningless. I realized something important that night. People may try to drag you down, to tarnish your reputation, to create chaos. But if you stay confident, carry proof, and trust in your truth, the consequences always turn in your favor. By the end of the party, I was surrounded by love and laughter, not suspicion or doubt. And that night, I learned a vital lesson. No accusation, no jealous attack, and no baseless claim could ever undo who I was or the life I had built. I held my husband close, smiling at our friends and family, feeling stronger than ever, because I hadn't just survived Olivia's attack. I had risen above it, and in front of everyone who mattered, I had won. Truth, dignity, and love had triumphed, and nothing, not even envy or lies, could take that away from me.